Listen, there's no hotter topic than the fact that we are 8 days away from election 2020. So we are joined by a woman who's hoping to make a lot of history on that day. Please welcome Democratic Vice Presidential nominee. Let me say it again. Democratic Vice President nominee, Senator Kamala Harris. Good morning, and welcome.
Good morning, Whoopi. Good morning to everyone, everyone on The View and everyone at home. It's good to be with you.
Excellent. Let's jump right in here. At least 5 of Vice President Pence's aides, including his chief of staff, have tested positive for the coronavirus in recent days. And despite having close contact, Pence is still out on the trail instead of quarantining for any time at all. He's going back to vote on Judge Barrett later today. And I know you came in contact with folks also who had COVID, and you took yourself off the road for a while. So what do we make of this? What is the takeaway from him not quarantining after being exposed?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me start by saying I wish his staff well. This virus is not kind. And, listen, I have said this before. We have witnessed the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. On this issue, over 225,000 Americans have died in just the last several months. Whoopi, I've been traveling the country. I've met so many families who have been devastated by loss of life, loss of family members. Over 8.5 million people have contracted this virus. And Donald Trump and Mike Pence, they knew about this. They knew the seriousness of it back in January. And they have not, from then on, been direct and helpful to the American people. And we find ourselves now in a situation where this is probably one of the greatest mass casualty events in the history of our country, short of World War II. And we need leadership that is not reckless, but responsible. And, on this and so many issues, there is a very stark contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Donald Trump gets on the debate stage and makes fun of Joe Biden for wearing a mask. When Dr. Fauci has said we can save lives, it is predicted if we don't take this seriously, 500,000 people in our country will have died by March of next year. In 5 months, Whoopi. It's got to stop. We need leaders. We need to be honest. We need to do what we would do with our children, what we would do with our neighbor. Love thy neighbor and be responsible. This is a contagious virus that kills people. And I think the American people deserve so much better from their leaders.
Certainly. So, Senator Harris, I'm wearing this for you today because...
Joy.
So, I am. So let me ask you this question. Okay. Throughout this campaign, you have been subjected to many stereotypes and tropes on account of your historic candidacy, I think. Colleagues have mispronounced your name. You had to repeatedly remind Vice President Pence that you were speaking at your debate. And our president has spread, I call him our president, I hope it's only for another week. He's been spreading birther conspiracies about you, and he called you despicable names like monster. I mean, he's like a baby. Here's what he had to say about you at the rally just this past weekend. Watch this.
And by the way, Kamala will not be your first female president. She will not be your first female president. Look, we're not going to be a socialist nation. We're not going to have a socialist president, especially any female socialist president.
So Senator, just respond to that if you could, please.
Joy, it's so predictable coming from him. I mean, it's childish. It's name-calling on behalf of the President of the United States. And again, the American people deserve so much more from their president. Look, name-calling is not new to me. It's not new to anybody who played on the playground as a child. But this is not the playground. This is the fact that the country is in the middle of a pandemic. This is that people, as many as 30 million Americans have lost their jobs in just the last several months. 1 in 5 mothers is describing her children under the age of 12 as being hungry in our country. We're in the midst of a hunger crisis. And so I don't think any of us should be distracted by the president's, frankly, childish behavior. What we need and what the American people need is to know that they are seen and that there are leaders who are addressing the suffering and addressing their needs for themselves and their families. That's what people deserve. And so I'm not going to be distracted by what he's doing. It's just not a good use of time, frankly.
Good. Senator, your candidacy as the first Black and Asian American vice presidential nominee is so groundbreaking, as Joy mentioned, and has meant so much to women, and in particular, women of color. Black sorority members are pledging to stroll to the polls to encourage people to vote, yet President Trump has said that he has done more for Black America than any other president in the history, with perhaps the exception of Abraham Lincoln. What will a Biden-Harris administration do for Black America?
Thank you, Sonny. Listen, first of all, let's start with the fact that Joe Biden has a knowledge of America's history on race and the courage to speak the phrase Black Lives Matter. Donald Trump will never say that. And the policies that will be, that are in the Biden-Harris plan, and this is a commitment, include what we need to do to invest in HBCUs. I'm a proud graduate of an HBCU, Howard University. We will invest $70 billion in HBCUs. We understand that Black businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses have been disproportionately impacted, not only by the pandemic, but even before, without being denied access to capital. We have a commitment that we will put $150 billion into low-interest loans and access to capital for minority businesses, including Black businesses, of course. We are committed to what we need to do, recognizing that so many of our kids are unable to graduate college because they simply can't continue to afford to pay tuition. We will commit that for any student coming out of a family that makes less than $125,000, they will go to a 4-year college, including an HBCU, including a private HBCU, for free. And so this is some of it. What we also understand is that when we're talking about racial disparities, it is in the economy, it is in healthcare. One of the big differences between Donald Trump and Joe Biden is that Joe Biden is going to continue with what he and President Obama did in expanding health coverage for people regardless of their income. And that means expanding the Affordable Care Act. Knowing that we have so many racial disparities in our healthcare system, I have long worked on the issue of Black maternal mortality. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women. And it has nothing to do with her socioeconomic or educational level. It literally has to do with the fact that when that Black woman walks into a hospital or a clinic, she's not taken as seriously. These are some of the issues we will address, including what we need to do to reform the criminal justice system and require more accountability and consequence for police officers who break the law. And so Joe talks about these issues. He knows that if we are to heal and unify our country, we must speak truth, even when it makes folks uncomfortable, to get to the place where we are unified and speaking a common language that is about the strength of our nation and our mutual commitment to that.